In this episode, we'll adjust the underlying hair, which is for covering the skin. We can make it coarse at the root and fine at the tip. Set a slightly larger value for strand shape. This parameter controls the transition in thickness between the root and tip. Positive values make the primitive rounding more towards the bottom as shown. Negative values make the primitive rounding more towards the tip. The smoothness of the hair is controlled by its keys. We increase it a little to smooth the hair. The reset value of 0 makes the primitive linear. As we increase the value, the primitive linear becomes concave. Like when the value is 0.75, the primitive rounding more towards the bottom. In contrast, when we lower it down, the primitive linear becomes convex, and the coarse part becomes larger. We increase the value to make the roots coarse. That way, less hair can also cover its skin well. Furthermore, we still keep a furry style with the fine tips. Turn random up a little. In this case, the hair can break the pattern and it looks more realistic. Actually, the intensity of roughness is varying in different areas. Here we use weight to control the range and the intensity. I suggest an intermediate initial value for it, like 0.5 or 0.6, so that when painting weight later, we can simply add it to where necessary, which is very manageable. Weight is used to control not only the range, but also the strength. In real situation, it looks more chaotic under its belly and in the front of its neck, so we can set a lower weight for other areas. Okay, I'll skip some insignificant steps. After assigning weight, the chaotic level will be reduced. Then we can double the parameters that were just adjusted. The hair here is not quite curly enough. Let's refine it. Generally, the hair in the front of neck is chaotic, while in the back of it is smoother. Thus, we add random weight in the front of the neck. We check the hair thoroughly to see where the chaos is not enough. Refine it further. It's actually not messy on its back. The hair in flank, belly, and armpits is always rubbed, which may lead to some clumps. After assigning vertex groups, let's check the grooming thoroughly again. Texturing goes wrong. The texture is in the Udin format. Let's check the UV mapping. In the UV map, the head is in tile -2, the body is in tile -1. Change to clip here. This way, the areas without texture will be black. But the whole texture is black now. Well, the UV tile setting is wrong. Let me adjust it. The guys on this face here are sort of too flat, which will lead to poor volume of hair. Let's puff it. Now the hair on the neck is rather long. Because in the reference, the rosettes are visible. As for our character, the rosettes are broken too much and not obvious. The hair right here is a bit long too. We can apply puff volume to volumize it. That way the flow and the style won't be damaged, yet the hair can be still fluffy. What we need to do next is to find out problems and fix them. Check the effect in the overall view to master the overall effect. If we just focus on any specific part, there may be somewhere else being ignored. The outline of its neck in the reference is curved. The back of its head is a little round, forming a curve from the top of its head to its shoulder. The curved silhouette is not well reflected. Let's refine it again. Observing the stretched pattern in the reference, we can see the hair should be longer here. After texturing the hair, we see some flaws of the guys. In the reference, the hair flows upwards in a curved way like this. But for our character, it doesn't look that way. The hind leg hair in this reference is rather chaotic, while in this one is relatively smooth. So it depends entirely on our needs. We puff the guys a bit more. If we don't want it that chaotic, we can just puff it a little. Let's add some flyaways on its back. It's a real-life animal after all. Influenced by its behaviors and habits, its hair in many areas is not that smooth. With some flyaways, it will be more realistic, just like a living animal in the real world. Compared with its back, some other places like a rump, chest, belly, and armpits are more chaotic. Actually, it is the flyaways that add realism to the character. If without flyaways, the hair will be pretty smooth everywhere. It's gonna be perfect hair. It doesn't exist in the real world. It may look nice, but it lacks realism. Next, we continue adding flyaways in its belly, chest, and in the front of its neck. It's unnecessary for us to make such long hair now, because we'll add another layer of long hair later. So now we just focus on grooming the hair. We can add some flyaways where the hair is rubbed frequently. Around the elbows, the hair can be a little bit longer. Since it often curls up its legs, there is a slight demarcation here. Let's make it. The spike on the top of its head is a little round. In the reference, we can clearly see the pattern and hair flow here, but our hair flow is not obvious. Let's reduce the random weight. I turn off the fall off before, so the stroke is stiff. Let me turn it back on. The hair here is a little too long. In the reference, there is a concave structure under its cheekbones. As for ours, the structure is not obvious with rather long hair. The silhouette here looks blonde. Let's free it a bit. Now it looks undulating with the rhythmic change, much more natural than before. The hair flow under the chin should go upward. Let's fix it. Okay, done with the underlying here. See you in a bit.